If you want to trade like a rebel, you got to come to Rebelcon 2022. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas, at the fabulous Four Seasons Resort. It will be more fun and more live trading than we've ever done before. That's why it's called Rebelcon 2022. We're going to have barbecues and double the amount of live trading. The guest speakers, as soon as we announce those, this thing's going to be sold out, limited to 250 people. Sign up now for Rebelcon 2022 at the Four Seasons in Dallas, Texas.
Welcome to the Rebellion.
Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take for Market Rebellion on this Friday morning, and a little bit of a rain here in the Midwest, which we need, so that's a good thing. I'll tell you what, you go back to Wednesday, we had that market that absolutely ripped to the upside, right? We look at the Dow was up 500 plus points, NASDAQ up 360 points, everything was great. We started off yesterday. Things looked pretty daggone good. We picked up right where we finished. We actually started moving to the upside. We were up 300 points early on. The NASDAQ was ripping to the upside, up about 150 points. And then it wasn't. And then it started to slide a little bit. And then in the final 2.5 hours or so, we slid even more. And we got all the way to the point where we gave up most of the gains in the Dow. We actually finished the day in positive territory, up about 25, 27 points. But on the NASDAQ, we couldn't even hold on to those gains. As a matter of fact, we went into negative territory, sold off enough that we were selling off more than 70 points. I think about 75 points actually is where we finished off from a level where we had broken through that 13,000. And yet actually, as we started to break off in that final couple hours, we sold all the way back underneath that and finished down 75 points on the day. Crude oil, interesting day as well. It started about 92, finished about 94. That definitely gave energy a nice big pick up to the upside. That was something, along with natural gas. Been talking about this bounce for a while now, and it continues that bounce. Finished the day up about $8.70 is where it was on the closing print. Volumes yesterday in our world, the derivatives world, the options world, really, really amazing. 46 million contracts trading. That's unheard of when you think about the fact that we're in August. We've gotten through the big bulk of the earnings season. All of that in play, averaging right now in August, a little over 40.5 million contracts a day. And that's exactly what the year-to-date average is as well. And yet we were nearly 6 million contracts higher than that. So that's something that definitely stood out. We've got the volatility index as well. Talking about it sitting right around 20. We've been up and down, but we're sitting right there at 20 yesterday when things finally concluded. 2-year 3.2, you look at the 10-year holding right around 2.88. Not a whole lot of movement there, but where we did get that nice movement, take a look at that big bounce in Bitcoin. We got almost up to 25,000, got up to 24,800. Now, I realized when we broke through 24,000, could we hold on? That was something we were looking close at because we were talking about the range that we had been in. Well, we did close above. We did pull back a little bit. We were about 24,400 in terms of where Bitcoin sort of closed out, if there is such a thing as closing out with Bitcoin. Energy, it was up a couple of percent. And because of that nice move and the fact that crude finished up towards 94, we finished up on the day a little over 3% for energy. Definitely the leading area in terms of sectors yesterday. ExxonMobil, BP, you get the idea. Some of the big boys definitely leading the way there. We had financials up about 1%, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all contributing to that one. Communications, it was up 1.5%. That slid all the way back towards flat. That's where we see a lot of stocks that actually fit that mold of what we were talking about with the NASDAQ itself. Twitter, Meta, those are some of the names that we're definitely pulling on that section, along with technology, which was up a little bit, almost 1%, not quite 1%, and finished down about 0.5%. It was Amazon, it was Square, it was Microsoft. There was a lot of contributors to what we were seeing happening with technology as we got to the latter part of the last couple hours of the day. So what were the leaders? It was definitely Beta Energy. Names like Devon just ripping to the upside. Marathon Oil, Schlumberger. I look over at a Diamondback, a Pioneer, all those names ripping to the upside. We mentioned some of the big names as well. Name like Chevron. Then you look over at some of the other areas in the industrials. Look at Dow, Caterpillar having a really nice day. You had Ross Stores and Disney. The China names had a good day yesterday. Finally had a little bit of a positive with NetEase and Baidu and JD and PDD and those names lifting things up, but not everything was rosy. You had names like Pfizer getting hit a little bit. You had Regeneron, you had Tesla, DocuSign, Okta, Datadog. We also had J&J, we had Amgen, we had United Health. Those names, the healthcare space, which has been a leader throughout most of this year so far, that was getting hit a little bit yesterday, along with names like McDonald's and Microsoft and Apple. But it wasn't huge, but definitely sliding a little bit to the downside. Now, if you saw that little promo at the very beginning, Rebelcon, that is getting very, very close to being sold out. So if you are interested in attending in Dallas, you're going to want to sign up soon. Some of the bigger packages are already sold out, but there is still room in the room for those who want to be there. And if you don't want to be there or you're not able to be there, there is options as well to be there virtually. So that's something you can look at as well if you're interested in that Rebelcon. That's going to be late September. Should be a lot of fun. It's always exciting. We got a great group of guys and gals that are going to be coming in. And because of the fact that we're down there in Texas, we've got our gal, Bryn Talkington, who's going to be coming up from Houston to join us as well. Should be a lot of fun there. Brian Sullivan, there's a whole list of people. Inflation data. That was really the story of this week. We all were waiting for CPI and PPI, and we got exactly what we were essentially looking for, which is we knew it wasn't going to come back and retract too much, but hopefully not continuing to build on where we were. It's exactly what happened. We've had a nice run. We started off today pretty nicely, actually, up about 160 points on the Dow, up about 90 points on the NASDAQ. Things are looking pretty solid early on. They continue to be that way. We've just kind of quietly, and a lot of people are saying it might be a very, very quiet Friday. We'll see if that plays out. I've talked to a lot of different people. Some of my buddies down there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, telling me, you know what, Pete? I think once we get past that first hour or so, you might see it dry up a little bit. Well, we'll see how that plays out. I can tell you this, right before coming on, Dow up a little over 100 points, NASDAQ up a little over 100 points. An area that's starting to slip a little bit was crude. Crude started off the day 93, 94, kind of eased back a little bit. Last I looked, it was right around 92. So it was starting to slide from that 94 close yesterday. Nat gas was right around that 870, 875 area. 2-year, not a whole lot there. 10-year, about the same, 284. We're looking at a 312 when we're looking at the 2-year. The volatility index kind of wavering around, kind of holding right there near 20. Got a little bit below 20, got a little bit above 20. Last I looked, we were about 1980 or so. So we'll see, especially as you get into the second half of the day and we start to price in the weekend, then we'll see exactly where we really do finish up the day in terms of that volatility index. Something to keep a close eye on. We talk about the VIXen all the time. That's been on the slide as well. Bitcoin back underneath 24,000. Looking to see if we were going to get into an upper range and a different range maybe. Maybe we're still in that same range. We talked about it for a while now, the last 5, 6, 7 weeks, where we're somewhere between 19,000 and 24,000. I thought maybe on that move up and through 24,000, maybe we're going to establish something new. Doesn't look like we're ready to do that quite just yet. Communications. Not a whole lot of movement, but up about 1.5%, a little less than 1.5%. Technology, on the other hand, started off a little bit slow. That flipped and immediately started to double up, and it was up about 1.25% last I looked. Energy did slide a little bit, not a whole lot, but down almost 1%. Financials were up 1% or 0.5%. Materials up about 0.5%. Neither one of those really moving very far off of that, at least early on. Big news out there that definitely helping things a little bit is Apple. Apple was talking about they expected some strong iPhone demand, so they're looking at their suppliers, talking with the suppliers about at least looking for a demand rate, something close to 2021, those kind of levels. So that is something that people are grabbing onto, very feeling a little bit more bullish maybe than they were after hearing some of that news, some of the concerns maybe that there would be a little bit of a slowdown. So as we look into today and we want to see what exactly are some of the areas that are giving us some of the strength, Generac is one of those, having a really, really nice day. Penn National, another one, having a pretty decent day. I look over at Norwegian Cruise Lines. Now, I saw that one actually standing out for me, standing up pretty good, having a pretty good start to the day. Workday, Applied Materials, some of those in the semiconductor space like Marvell and AMD starting off the day, at least pretty solid. Disney, United Health, you get the idea. On the negative side, though, you've got names like Illumina, you've got Moderna, you've got some of those Chinese names pulling back just a little bit once again. We'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. It's a long day. We're only a little over the first hour into it. There's a lot more to come. So I've got some pretty interesting as far as unusual. The first one we're going to start off with is Petrobras. Now, Petrobras, the reason I bring this one up is not so much about the unusual today. There is unusual in there. Stock trading a little bit above 13. We got a buyer of 2,000 November 13 calls. That's pretty interesting. They're also selling the November 15 calls to hedge against that, kind of putting a top on where they think it could maybe go and actually selling twice as many up top. What I wanted to point out was yesterday was a very interesting day. I got hit on social media an amazing number of times, a lot of volume out there. What were people asking me about? They're asking me about what is all that volume you're seeing at Petrobras. If you look at it very closely, there was a lot of trade on the in the money calls, the deeper in the money calls. Why would they be doing that? Here's why. There's something where folks have been doing this for a long time. You're buying and selling the calls, you're exercising calls, you're trying to actually capture a dividend yield. It's just a play to see who's really paying attention and who's not. And it was a lot of volume there. It was an incredible amount of volume. And when you look at the dividend yield, you'll understand why people wanted to have an appetite for what they were doing. I'm not saying anybody should be doing it. I'm not saying that you want to do it. It can be very complicated. Just giving you a reason on why there was so much option activity in Petrobras yesterday. It wasn't necessarily directional is the best way to probably describe it. TK Energy Corp. Now this one stands out a little bit. Haven't seen a whole lot of this. We're talking about energy transportation with this name. So we're not talking about the Exxons and those. We're talking about the transportation of a lot of what's going on in the energy world. Stock trading about $3.60. We had a buyer of almost 5,000 October 5 calls. Stock trading, as I said, $3.60. They're looking for a little bit of a move here. Those options are going for 10 cents, 15 cents, fairly inexpensive, and gives you a little bit of time to see if this starts to move and makes any kind of a breakout to the upside. Something that we've been seeing so far early on today is we are seeing a little bit of a tilt towards energy today as we're seeing a little bit of that pullback from the price of crude. People maybe trying to take advantage of the fact that some of these numbers are coming down a little bit, makes it a little less expensive, and looking for maybe a bullish play into the future going out. And that's something we're seeing not just in this TK, but in some of the other names. Folks, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a wild ride for sure on a Friday. We'll see if it's quiet or if we actually do have any kind of volumes. We're not going to likely match the volumes we had yesterday, that's for sure. Big day yesterday, 46 million. We'll see if we even get close to that 40.5 million that we're averaging so far in August and year to date. We'll see how that all plans out. Folks, have a great day of trading.